Hi, welcome to your week number one of Virgo. I hope that you got something from the overview and just kind of gave you a whole thing of what the month has to offer. And now we're going to talk about each week and kind of what the themes are of that week. And they do build off each other and they do play off each other. That's why I love to be able to break them down into different things because we tend to have transits that planets moving in relationship to each other that are hitting each other more than once. So there's something to be learned when we meet with someone more than once, right? So think about it like when we go out and we meet someone for the first time, and then maybe we go home and we think about what we didn't ask them, or what you're like, oh, I want to know more about that. Like when you get to meet them again, you get to ask those questions or get to know more and deeper about them. So the same thing happens with the planets when they're transiting is when they hit each other more than once because of retrogrades or whatever experience is happening. Usually it's a retrograde situation if they're going to see each other more than once um, in a certain time frame. And what that is it's the ability to be able to meet an old friend again and see what the experience is or what it has to share with you. So let's kick it off. First day of Mercury. I'm sorry, first day of Virgo. Here we go. Virgo. So the sun moves into Virgo actually on Monday night late of August 22nd. So this is actually for Tuesday morning early of August 23rd, but it's at 0 degrees Virgo. So if we take like a snapshot of what's happening the day that the sun moves into Virgo, and the moment it moves into Virgo, there's a couple of things that really stand out for me. One of them is Mercury down here is opposite Neptune up here. And that is a theme that we are going to see as Mercury retrogrades through this month. So this Mercury opposite Neptune means a couple of different things, right? Mercury opposite Neptune, Mercury rules our mind and our intellectual mind and how we think about things and how we communicate them and how we interact with others with things that are going on in our mind. Neptune is more about the illusion and more about the nonlinear mind. So these two are opposing each other in the sky. Neptune in Pisces, Mercury is in Virgo. Virgo is very literal, Pisces is not. And so there's a couple different things going on here when we see this is like, what am I dreaming about? What am I contemplating as like this? I've been talking to clients lately a lot about daydreaming, and this may be why, because of this transit that just happened over the weekend, but is still an orb and still will be an orb for time to come. One of the things I would say is that the daydreaming component in our society, we do not value daydreaming. And that's a shame because a lot of great ideas come from giving ourselves the space to just daydream. And so, that ability to just be able to look as I am outside the window and just contemplate and let your mind free flow is an interesting way to play with this Mercury opposite Neptune, because then what Mercury and Virgo can do down here is bring it back into reality and say, you know what, that seems doable. That doesn't seem doable. So let's play with that cool idea and bring that part into reality. And let's, shelve all those other ones for maybe another time frame or something like that. So that's one way to look at this. Mercury opposite Neptune. So realist versus non-realist, if you want to say, is one of the things that we'll play with on and off all this month. The other thing about Mercury opposite Neptune is I have noticed that there's been some death around going on in the collective, or people who are transitioning, even beginning to transition. And that can be a thing as well, that ability to, again, with Mercury being really linear, it's like contemplating, like, what is our relationship with death? I had a family member pass last week. They were on hospice, so it wasn't surprising, but it's just an interesting way to have this opportunity to reflect and to be able to think about my relationship with that person, and then what the world is like, or my small world with my family and extended family, what that's like without that person in our lives. And so there's some reflection that goes with that. And kind of even, and Mercury opposite Neptune could even have, if you have a good relationship with that person who is transitioning or has transitioned, this is another great way to channel being able to talk to angels, being able to talk to that other world. So just a thought with what's going on with that this week. That's one thing. The other thing that's going on that also relates to what I was just talking about is this Mercury trine Pluto. So Mercury trine Pluto, here's Mercury at 27 Virgo, Pluto is at 27, 26 Capricorn. And this is another one of those things of being able to channel and have a conversation with the spirit realm, angel realm, whatever you believe in, guides, whatever that is, or the other world. And the other piece I would say with this is Mercury trine Pluto is that ability to Mercury opposite Neptune makes making these videos hard because I'm like, woo, can blow around a little bit, right? Mercury trine Pluto can help give you the focus. So this brings the earth in where I'm like, Chris, you better grab a little totem and keep that in your hand so you can remember to stay grounded while you're talking and you don't do a 700-minute video. So Mercury trine Pluto, the focus, the ability to focus on a single task and on something that's coming, that will be in play all this week. This is the first time that we're seeing Mercury trine Pluto. We will see it 3 times this month. And so I think I gave those dates in the last, where are those dates? We'll see Mercury trine Pluto in, we saw it over the weekend on, actually it's today, the 22nd of August. We'll see it again on September 26th, and we'll see it, and then it kind of stays in orb through October 7th. So September 26th to October 7th, which I'll talk about later, Mercury will be trining Pluto for the final time, both retrograde as well as direct. So if there's anything that came in this weekend, if you noticed anything, I think I had mentioned in the overview, this investigative journalist. What was it that you're investigating? What is it that you're deciding to put your focus on? Because when you have Pluto in the mix, it can either go, it either goes towards something that's not healthy for you, or it's going towards something that is healthy for you. So let's use this earth energy to really determine what is it that I want to put my focus on really healthfully, and how do I want to stay grounded? Blah. Okay, let's look at the 25th. So I have the wrong time on the 25th, but on Thursday, August 25th, Mercury will move into Libra. And this is the sign it's going to retrograde in. It's going to retrograde at 8 degrees Libra on September 9th. So it's just this, we're already in what we call the shadow period of Mercury retrograde. So we're already looking at the themes that will be presented during the Mercury retrograde period of September 9th to October 2nd. So just really paying attention to the communication things that are coming up, the thoughts that are coming up. I've noticed that actually I'm a little bit more internal. I'm having moments where I don't want to talk, which is shocking as a Gemini. And so, but honoring those pieces and not making any of them wrong, of where you're at with your communication and your thoughts and all of that. The other thing to pay attention to that I was just talking with some friends about is worry, anxiety, and sleep. These are some big themes that will be coming up. This really up-levels, this Virgo energy, up-levels the anxiety, nervousness, the nervous system, sleep, because our mind is spinning, can be interrupted. I've been having trouble sleeping all the way through the night. I've been waking up in the middle of the night, which comes and goes for me. And I noticed that Mercury in Virgo is one of those times that I can be woken up. So Mercury in Libra might bring the balance back with that, but it is an air sign. So we'll talk about more about Mercury in Libra and some of the things that'll affect it as it goes along, but just to pay attention to the shift and being able to work with that energy a little bit more. What I really want to talk about actually for this week, though, is the new moon in Virgo, which is on August 27th, Saturday, August 27th at 2:16 a.m. Mountain Time. And so this takes place with the sun and moon in Virgo at 4 degrees Virgo. So if you have any planets at 4 degrees, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, or Pisces, this really hits your chart. Interestingly enough, we do have a planet that for everyone in the world is sitting at 4 degrees Gemini, and that is Mars. So Mars moved into Gemini on August 20th, and it's now at 4 degrees Gemini, in an exact, what we call a 90-degree square to the sun and moon in Virgo. So what I just referred to earlier, what are some of the things? This is the first challenge that Mars will have as it, just moved in a week before. And it is a challenge. A square is always a challenge. So what might we see in this? This is speed. This is how fast we speak. This is how fast we think. This is how fast we move. So one of the things we're going to have to look at is our speed. Am I driving too quickly? Am I paying attention while I'm driving? That might be a little bit challenging. So to really notice that there's a speed component here. And so with that speed comes not only the movement of the body and like driving, but also how fast a thought comes out of your mouth. um, and so really watching like is this really appropriate for what I want to say here? Is it really something that needs to be shared? Is there any value in sharing this information that I'm thinking? Or is this just my judgment? Is this something we have to really watch in this month of Virgo, is judgment? The good news is Mercury's moved into Libra. So Libra is literally the diplomat. So if we can slow down enough to be able to listen to the diplomat and decide whether or not it's appropriate to say what you want to say, or if it's even valuable, or if it's just sarcastic and judgmental. Virgos tend to be a little sarcastic, which can be kind of funny. They can also be very self-deprecating. So you have to really watch, like, is this helping or hurting me? So that's something to really pay attention to with this new moon in Virgo. The other thing that's primary importance is that what we call a fixed T-square. Up here, we have our friendly Uranus, who we've talked about in previous videos, squaring Venus, opposing Saturn in Aquarius, who has started their square to Uranus. So this is a big theme, this Uranus square Saturn, that I will make a separate video about. But basically, in the very basics of things, it's old versus new. So Uranus is basically the glass shatterer. And I forgot to mention that it does go retrograde on the 24th of August. So Uranus has just recently gone retrograde right before this new moon. So it's pretty potent when it goes retrograde. And Uranus is the glass shatterer. So it takes a glass and throws it on the ground and shatters it because it wants to start fresh with a new set of glasses. But the question I always think about with that is, do we know what it is that we really want to start over with? So Uranus has to make sure they don't just shatter the glass because they want new glasses, but then for some reason with the supply chain, they weren't able to get the new glasses. So it's not to break something just for the sake of breaking. Saturn is actually looking at it looks at like how to hold on to what's in existence. So what we've been trying to do since 2021, this was in play all of 2021, is figure out, what am I holding on to that needs to break? And what am I breaking that I actually need to hold on to? This has been, again, a square. They are butting heads with each other. So we have to be careful that we're not breaking something that needs to be held on to, and that we're not holding something that actually needs to be broken. And what it is in this, thank you, Venus, she is showing us, what it is that we value. She's showing us what it is that we love. She's showing us experiences that we may have been having here in Leo, she's presenting us with experiences that we're like able to look at, this needs to be broken or this needs to be salvaged and held on to. She might be bringing that in because she's our value system. She's the one who helps us remember what it is that we love. And so whenever we have a T square, which stands for tension in the chart, we're always looking at, where's the release point? And it is in the sign of Scorpio. So Scorpio rules water. This has been happening for a long time. We have had various planets involved with the tension square, because there have been a lot of what we call fixed energy planets this summer. So this is not new, the Scorpio release point, but it is important to really think about, like, how do I get still? How do I get silent? How do I really look at, Scorpio really rules the dark of the dark. If we think about the Scorpio season, it is some of the darkest parts of the year. It's where death and decay happens, where nature in the Northern Hemisphere shuts down and becomes dormant. And, really begins a different kind of renewal cycle, but it's not as obvious as it is in the springtime. So I think what we have to think about, again, like what the release point is like, what is it that needs to decay in our lives? We're not good at that. I mentioned earlier that there was some death in my family. And, what is it that happens after death? How does life continue to go on? who and what relationships and what experiences happen after there is a gap or a hole where that family member was. What do you do? So that's a very specific example, but this can be changing jobs. This can be empty nesting. We had some friends here this weekend who just sent their last kid off to college. So these experiences are, there's a death of how we have done things to this point. But with that will become a renewal. So what are we renewing it with? And to be super intentional, this is the new moon. So we want to be really intentional about what it is that we're bringing in. So with that, it's not quick. Fixed energy is not quick. No rushing. Take your time. But I had mentioned in my overview, and luckily I watched it, the tips and tools. So the tip that stood out for me this week is breathe. Breathe before you speak. Take a deep breath and slow your roll. Take a deep breath before you drive your car. Take a deep breath before you get on your bicycle. Take a deep breath before you go into a work meeting. Take a deep breath, or 10, any of these times. Take a deep breath, or 10, before you go see a family member. Take a deep breath, and 10 before you go into something that might be a little bit more contentious. That's the theme of the week, is take that deep breath. Like, let's slow that Mars energy down enough to make sure, am I really saying and doing what I want to be saying and doing? And we'll talk more about that with next week's Mercury opposite Jupiter. So I hope this was helpful. See you next week.